Yo, what is up, my fellow Rift Bounders? Coming to you today with a Kha'zix deck profile. This is going to be a body purple champion, so we're going to try to take advantage of not only movement, but these powerful buff effects that body and chaos has available to us. Alright, so first and foremost, this is an XP uh, legend. So we're going to be utilizing the new mechanic. You can spend 1 XP, buff a unit, helps with attacking or defending. And also, being able to, in some scenarios, give draw power through Monastery. We'll get to that later. But most importantly, what I think this legend brings to the table more than anything is the spend 2 XP. And then tap it, move an exhausted friendly unit from a battlefield to the base. And you can obviously tell we're playing the Ambush Kha'Zix as our champion, so he's pretty much going to be able to give us 2 XP for that effect almost instantly. So we're going to be doing a lot of attacking and then pulling the unit back, always threatening an attacker, and then trying to, create solo environments with the Kha'Zix mutating horror to push that advantage. Because I mean, a 6 might unit for 4 is pretty huge over the course, and it can trigger multiple times per turn too. So there are like multiple charms effects or ride the wind, multiple combats and a turn scenarios with purple. So something to keep in mind going forward. We're going Forbidden Waste. There's a lot of moving unit effects in this deck, so it's excellent and actually is incidentally very good against Master Yi. Star Spring, it's going to be very good, especially with the Irresistible Fate Folk into a Kha'Zix line. We do have some move effects in this deck, so Star Spring's excellent. And lastly, Monastery Harana that I mentioned earlier. And then there's just, drawing cards is always good, and, getting the buff for literally no, you know, rune investment is very great. So we'll go ahead and move on to the meat and potatoes of the build. Um, Start off with 3 Irresistible Fey Folk. Excellent card. This pretty much is saying I'm going to ambush any unit on your board. I'm going to move them. There's certain scenarios where people are pretty hunkered down, especially with hidden cards. You can always use this card to pull it, ambush into it, and especially with the Star Spring, it pretty much goes right back to your base safe and sound. So then your ambush unit can, attack and kill their card. Another one I like to run is a very power heavy hungry deck, so Treasure Hunter always helps alleviate that. We are ambushing a lot, so the 1 might doesn't really matter because typically if we don't have Star Spring, our 2 might units typically gonna die, so it really doesn't matter if it's a 2 drop 2 might unit. We have a 2 drop 1 might that actually gives us some movement utility, which is very solid. And lastly, to round out the 2 drops is gonna be Mr. Root. When I move to a battlefield, gain 2, and you can also accelerate it in the late game if they do have open battlefields to try to push for game. Very excellent, and it's almost like a Lucian, a body orange Lucian, where you can go ahead if you play him on turn 1. Next turn, you can then push him into the battlefield. Use Kha'Zix effect after you use this to push him back, so then you can always have a threat to ambush with afterwards. So it's an excellent card. It kind of looks like it's not really that solid, but in Kha'Zix he can really take full advantage of that. Moving on to some 3 drops. We're gonna go Nidalee again. Stated earlier, card draw is awesome. It's another ambush unit. So sometimes you can play Nidalee in the early to mid game, and then you still have the threat of the Kha'Zix to back it up to defend the Nidalee as well. And so in certain scenarios, you can get multiple draws in a turn with multiple combats with Nidalee, so it's pretty great value. Another card I've been rocking is Lucian Merciless. He has Weapon Master, so we do run some gears in here, so we will be utilizing that at times, but it's not really that important. But the first time I conquer each turn, ready me. That's really the important thing. So you can always, take a battlefield, ready him, pull him back. Very similar to the Mr. Root, and just always having an attacker ready. And he's honestly just a great going second card, along with the Nidalee as well. So we kind of getting to the spice of the list here. So we got 5 5 drops. Okay, we chose not to run the Rengar. Feel like we had enough ambush units as well, and we don't want to make our matchups into Vex worse, because Vex is pretty much the worst nightmare for this deck. So we got Yone Blade Master. So when I conquer an open battlefield, deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit in a base. So a lot of these whole decks are kind of just pushing up on one and on one side, and so a lot of the times they keep an open battlefield. So there's a lot of, again, moving our opponent's units that we can always take their unit, move it off the opposite battlefield, attack in with Yone to the open battlefield, and then pop their unit in the back line. So it's very great utility, especially with some other spells we have later. I'll go ahead and put him off to the side um, to explain that combo later. And lastly, we got 2 Yasuo Wind Riders. These are pretty much for trying to just sneak in that last point most of the time, and also just having the threat of Yasuo Wind Rider. Because the third time I move in a turn, you score a point. So there's many situations where you can play Yasuo Wind Rider, especially when you're at 5 points and your opponent is at had just held to 6 or whatever, and then they push their units back, or they don't want to get ambushed into and get their board taken. Yasuo pretty much says you can't do that, because there's some spells later that I'll explain, and I'll go ahead and pull him off to the side as well, and I'll explain these 2 combos here. We're going to go on to the gears. So this is for the Lucian and the Yone most of the time, or even Kha'Zix in Italy. We got 2 Boots of Swiftness and 2 Bone Shivers. Again, for the Bone Shivers, it's a very energy based deck, so we're going to try to alleviate as much pressure as we can off that. So when I conquer channel 1 rune exhausted, plus with a +2 might is very relevant. And with the weapon masters, if they come down afterwards, you're paying 1 rune for it, so it's not that bad there. And Boots of Swiftness is huge as a card, just because you have opportunities with cards like Lucian. It's a very like 1-2 punch. You can attack with Lucian, and then they have no idea like you have anything like early in the game. On if you're going second, you can play Lucian, then attack with Lucian on the opposite battlefield of where they move their 2-drop into. Then you can cast the Boots of Swiftness attach, and then he's readied, and then you just gank across, and then you just got a double conquer on the first turn, and then you can then turn around and buff them. So now you have a 6 might unit. So very, very good, very, very good, and you disrupt a lot of tempo with that too. And the same thing with the Yone, and just also giving your Kha'Zix ganking is always very fantastic. So going into the spells now, that's pretty much the gear lineup right here. So going into the spells, 2 punch first. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just give them unit 5 might. Very, very self-explanatory. Grim Resolve, we got 3 of those. Basically discipline in orange, except it's action. It's not reaction. I've made that mistake a couple times. But yeah, just give a friendly unit +3 might. When it wins, gain 2 XP. And so if you don't have the Kha'Zix, you have the ability to pull that unit back if need be, if it is exhausted. So pretty great card. I wouldn't run any less of these cards. There's an argument to run a 3rd punch first, but I like that lineup so far. So the important cards is we're running 3 and 3 of Ride the Wind and Void Assault. So Void Assault is a great, fantastic card. So it has 2 and a hybrid. You can move a friendly unit, then move an enemy unit, and this is like why you're wanting to pretty much play Kha'Zix. All right, so this is, you can move a friendly unit anywhere, and then move a enemy unit anywhere. So this is either pulling them off their really reinforced battlefield. This is keeping their backline unit that they're protecting, moving it up, and then doing it. So there's a really cool 1-2 punch where you have Yone either already there, or you can play Yone into the Void Assault. But you can always push Yone, like have Yone, move a friendly unit, and then move an enemy unit, and then you can go move Yone into the empty battlefield, and then move their unit back, and then you're like just doing 5 damage to that unit in the back line, most of the time killing it. So it's an excellent just 1-2 combo, and just being able to pick off targets is fantastic. And yeah, this card's insane, completely busted. If you could run 15 of this card, I would run 15 of this card. Um, and pseudo almost similar fashion, you have triple wide the win. The card's insane. Being able to score points on your opponent's turn and or protect your units is excellent. And in some scenarios, you're either drawing a card or even Yone is able to blow up something. And most importantly, you do have the Yasuo Ride the Wind combo. In a very similar fashion, Void Assault can do a very similar thing to where both these cards are basically saying that Yasuo has the potential to score multiple points in a turn. So you can have a Yasuo ready in the back, go ahead and attack into a battlefield that you're feeling great into. Then you can go ahead and ride the wind and or void assault, right, to move them to the other battlefield, and then move the other unit back, and then you use Kha'zix if you have the 2 XP to move it back, and that's 3 points, right? So very you can pretty much steal games with Yasuo. So I would definitely not count Yasuo out from there. Um, Moving on, double star-crossed again. Vex is a hell of a unit, so we're trying to answer those, and has it's a really great card against Elder, against Aurora. So I feel like it's pretty much mandatory to run this, at least minimum 2. I wouldn't go any less than that. So we're going to be running again. This is another tech card for against Yees and Vexes. So this is Isolate. I'm going to go ahead and go over this card. Not many people play this card. So it's 2 mana. Move an enemy unit from a battlefield to its base. Then if there's a enemy unit alone at that battlefield, draw a card. So a lot of the times, these whole decks are going to be sitting, or even you have your Teemo decks where they like to hide cards. So sometimes this can just like give you a free value on a hide card, just like pushing a unit off. Also, just being able to do the Yone combo to where you have Yone push a unit off, and then just go ahead and pop it is excellent. And also just Kha'Zix, if they have 2 units, push one back, and then typically the more difficult one to get rid of, go and push him back, draw a card. Who doesn't like drawing cards? So it's a good little tech. I really like it so far. Um, and then I like to play just 2 of Abandon. Um, I feel like most of the time with spells in this format, you pretty much have to instantly stop it. You don't really have the option a lot of holding up 4 mana for hard bargain. So I think Abandon's pretty good. And a lot of like the more problematic cards that you have to use do have to do power. So like sometimes it's even better just to make them put back the extra power, and so the predict comes in. So I like Abandon. I can mess with the ratios of these honestly, but so far it's been pretty solid. It's done me good. And lastly, I know this ain't a spell, but it's a fizz. He's pretty much a spell. Just being able to be a 4th copy of Void Assault, is or Ride the Wind, or you do have the star-crossed loop that you can do where you star-crossed, bounce a dude, play fizz, bounce the fizz, bounce another guy, and then just do shenanigans like that. But yeah, that's it. That's the deck profile. I appreciate it. I guess we'll go over the runes. Um, so we got 6 and 6. We'll go ahead and go over the sideboard as well. Haven't really play tested the sideboard, but we'll just go over it quickly. So we got Unyielding Spirit. This is for Aurora matchups when they play the Elder. This will help get some holds. It's also good against Kaisa and red decks in general. 2 of Vex. It's the best card in the format, so you pretty much had to play it. We got 2 Snap Vines. Snap Vines is basically just another way of dealing. It's kind of painful with the power, but it's just another way of being able to deal with Vex, because she is a very problematic unit. And Master Yi as well. It is difficult to go ahead and deal with those. Akshan for gear based decks. This is against Aurelias, Azirs, Aurora. Fioras, anything like that, or even baited hook decks. Akshan's pretty much goaded there. And lastly, I do kind of play the orange Kha'zix, and this is going to be more against into Vex decks because you're just not going to be able to ambush the Kha'zix well, and they're typically going to stack up a unit, so you're not going to see much Kha'zix value into those. So just going into game 2, game 3, just having a unit you can just stick and then threaten a green Yasuo-like effect. So again, he has Hunt, so when I attack, you can spend 3 XP to deal damage equal to 1 might to an enemy unit there. So it's good for clearing out battlefields where you need to, and then you can generate so much XP in this deck. So all right, so yeah, that's pretty much the deck profile. I appreciate y'all taking the time. I know it's been kind of a long video. I tried to make it as short and sweet as possible, but just go ahead and leave a comment if you like the deck profile. If you have any questions or anything like that, or if you have any suggestions on what could be done better about it, let me know. This is my first Riftbound video, so I appreciate you for your patience. And if I actually messed up anything on rulings or anything like that in this video, please let me know. And looking forward to play some more Riftbound in the future. All right, y'all, take it easy. Peace.